fierce warrior, a killer made hero, a man made a god.
In most video games, you slip into the shoes of the hero. It's rare to deliberately embody the villain. Sure, plenty of RPGs let you flip sides and wreak havoc, but that's not what we're diving into here. This video is all about those times when you kick things off as the antagonist right from the start, or maybe those moments when you're blindsided by the revelation that you've been the bad guy all along. Either way, with evil weaving through so many games as a core theme, it's downright electrifying to finally embrace the role of the ultimate fiend. Hey everyone, in today's video, 10 games where you play the villain.
Oh my goodness!
Kicking things off, this one's got a bit more playful vibe. In Stubbs the Zombie and Rebel Without a Pulse, you're definitely the villain. You take on the role of a decaying zombie, which involves eliminating humans and turning them into zombies for your army by, well, making them munch on brains. The storyline in Stubbs is pretty simple. You're a zombie and everyone else is a human trying to take you down. In this case, those annoying humans are actually in the right. You're a dangerous, human-despising monster. No matter how adorable your green innards might seem, you're still a terrifying mobile nightmare and far from friendly. Taking out police, swarms of National Guard, and all kinds of other foes. Yep, it's a blast. The game is framed like a romantic tale from the zombies' point of view, but don't be fooled. Stubbs is undeniably wicked wherever he goes, whether he's in a great mood or totally enraged. The thing is, the game is incredibly charming. It's hilariously absurd in a way that almost makes you overlook how utterly diabolical the protagonist is. Yet in a game where you lead undead hordes, use their body parts as weapons, blow up gas stations packed with unlucky folks, and unleash your zombie swarm. Deep down, you know you're the bad guy. Moving on to number 9, Overlord 2 at least gives you some options. You can choose to be evil or extremely evil. You take on the role of the Overlord, a malevolent ruler of the underworld leading an army of orcs, goblins, and various other vile creatures with the mission to conquer the world. In the first game, you had more flexibility to balance evil and good, but in the sequel, you're fully embracing the dark side, only deciding just how wicked you want to be. Do you slaughter every villager you encounter or enslave them? Clearly, enslavement is the more sinister choice, as the villagers gradually perish while enslaved, all while bolstering your army with zombie minions. Perhaps the most diabolical act is building an army of immortal slaves to dominate the world. The game's odd spin is that it's humorous and quirky, so you're rarely doing anything outright horrific, at least not in a direct way. Really, the actions aren't much different from what you'd see in a standard RTS or RPG, but sending in a goblin army with murderous intent instead of noble goals makes the destruction feel a bit more pronounced. It can be fun to play the villain, and Overlord 2 makes it effortless, probably because your army is composed of such ridiculous goblins. They're so exaggerated and comical that it's tough to take your actions too seriously. Now at number 8, we have Vampyr. From the outset, the title gives it away. Vampyr, a Victorian horror RPG that immediately puts you at a disadvantage in this vampire versus humans conflict. You play as a newly turned vampire, pursued by vampire hunters throughout the entire journey. You're a doctor, and even if you vow to do no harm, your vampiric nature inherently casts you as a villain. Surviving in this game is tough. Drinking blood when you're low on health is the best way to keep fighting. Unlike typical vampires who don't select their prey, this game stands out by giving you a choice. Protect London's citizens or fully embrace your vampiric instincts and become a monstrous occult terror. Feeding on people grants heaps of XP, perfect for early grinding, but it comes at the cost of tougher battles later since fewer people are left to defend. Your choices in Vampyr carry serious weight. Killing too many humans makes vampire hunters more relentless, leading to greater chaos and tragedy and darkening the world progressively, which is honestly pretty awesome. The crux is that even if you're backed by an ancient order safeguarding the secret vampire society, you remain humanity's adversary. Even if you play a bit like a Nightwing-style Robin Hood, siphoning just a touch of blood here and there while tearing out the throats of vampires and hunters alike, you're still fundamentally a villain, whether you want to be or not. Landing at number 7, some of these entries come with unavoidable spoilers, as we have to disclose the game's big reveal that you're the villain or something similar. With these earlier picks, though, things are a bit more direct. Carrion is a fairly simple, no-nonsense game, isn't it? You play as a massive, eerie blob desperate to break free, and anyone who stands in your path will deeply regret it. The whole game centers on your escape, but it's dubbed a reverse horror game because, for once, you're the monster. The true horror here is about surviving and making it out alive rather than being torn to pieces. In terms of story-driven thrills, it's the opposite of games like Outlast, where you're fleeing a gruesome death at the hands of something hideous, except now you're the one tearing apart defenseless scientists. You're not some heroic being, you're a ruthless, mindless killer. The scientists might be up to some questionable experiments and arguably deserve some payback for their deeds, but honestly, probably not to the extreme degree you dish out in this game.
It's just me, Betty. Would you put the stapler down? Seriously.
Now at number 6, we have Infamous Second Son. This sequel to Infamous offers a much sharper divide between the good and evil paths you can choose. Like the earlier Infamous games, you can opt to be a hero or a villain, with the story branching into two extremes. But in Second Son, your decisions truly shape your journey. Yet no matter what choices you make, you're still kind of a troublemaker causing chaos on Seattle's streets. You can decide to battle traffic cops, which is the good route, or kill them outright, which is the evil one. At its core, though, you're still a reckless fool stirring up civil disorder in a major American city. Regardless of your actions, you're taking justice into your own hands. The decision boils down to being a minor pest or going full-blown psychopath. Every major choice in Second Son ranges from understandable to slightly bad to downright atrocious. There's also something unique in this series: the gore. On the evil path, your character Delson takes on a grim look, with his jacket turning to a sinister black and red style, his powers flaring with chaotic red light, and in villainous cutscenes, as the tone darkens, his face grows more confident and resolute as he leans into his destructive decisions. Most games don't make it obvious when you're veering toward evil, but in Infamous Second Son, it's crystal clear. Some choices are so vile, you'd have to be a real-life monster to make them. Still, even on the good path, Delson remains a bit of a societal nuisance.
You're welcome. Como no Friday, you're like a brother to me. Now you can start thinking about what you're gonna do next.
Sure.
Coming in at number 5, we have Mafia 2. This game is a much simpler case compared to the complex narratives of other iconic crime games. Mafia 2 doesn't immediately portray Vito Scaletta as a full-fledged villain. Instead, it slowly unveils his slide into the criminal underworld. You begin as a World War II soldier fighting in a European village, and your actions there hint at what lies ahead. After being wounded, you return to Empire Bay, not staging a sneaky escape or rampaging through the countryside. Those scenarios don't play out. The tutorial level highlights Vito's struggles and moral grayness, without presenting him as an inherently evil person from the outset. By Part 2, you're a hardened criminal, the worst of the worst if you're a stickler for purity. Even in crime stories, there are typically lines you don't cross, like harming civilians, vagrants, or those down on their luck. People usually shielded by criminals, but in Mafia 2, those boundaries don't hold. A massive shootout in a brothel leads to tragic outcomes, and while many of the people you kill are criminals or rivals, they're not just the downtrodden at society's bottom. Taking on an entire Chinatown crew or a gang of crazed Irish thugs doesn't make you a hero. Vito is a grim figure, walking an undeniably dark path. Now at number 4, Maneater is a pretty obvious pick because, well, it's the shark game. How could you not be the bad guy here? Unless maybe you're talking to hardcore anti-shark folks. Sharks are magnificent ocean creatures saddled with a bad rap from decades of pop culture slander. But if you're in that camp, this game might ruffle your feathers. Still, Maneater is an awesome game because it completely subverts the monstrous shark trope for its own comedic twist. You take on the role of the legendary Maneater, a massive apex predator driven solely by hunger. As this shark, you wreak havoc, kill, and devour everything in your path. You start off small, barely able to chomp through a single fish, But by the end, you're a grotesque mutant with wicked teeth and a burning grudge against humans everywhere. In Maneater, you scare people to lure out hunters. The more humans you knock over with your massive shark head, the more infamous you become. Infamous as a killer. In any other story, you'd be the hero stopping this beast, but in Maneater, you're the beast. And the funniest part is, everyone cheers you on for it. The game doesn't instill the kind of terror you'd expect from a real-life giant Maneater. The hunter's carefree attitude is just another layer of the game's already silly, over-the-top parody. And that's exactly what makes the game such a blast. At number 3, the plain reality is that in Prototype and Prototype 2, you're the monster, the undeniable villain. No matter how you try to spin it, Alex Mercer is the reason New York's streets are overrun with monsters. It's his fault. He caused it. He's the core issue. Prototype kicks off at the game's end, showing our so-called hero absorbing what seems like a defenseless soldier to heal his wounds. And things only spiral downward from there. You're a lethal creature that infects the whole city, transforming into a nightmarish Lovecraftian abomination. The most unsettling part is how little Alex Mercer seems to care. You're a typical protagonist, yet the deaths of thousands of innocents don't stop you from tearing helicopters from the sky or slaughtering anyone in your path. The upside is that this makes you a fitting protagonist for this kind of game. It's an open-world chaos fest where you unleash mayhem, destruction, and carnage, and you're rewarded for it. That aligns with the reality that you're far from a good guy. The sequel doesn't improve matters. You play as a second virus spawned from Alex Mercer, making everything even more catastrophic. You're mostly taking out villainous military foes, which might slightly cleanse your conscience. But the key difference between Prototype and something like Infamous is the attention to civilians. Here, there's none. The moral dilemma isn't even raised, and Prototype doesn't bother asking the question because the answer is obvious. Yes, the hero is absolutely a colossal villain. He looks awesome doing it, though. The game was impressive for its era.
Attack! Take cover!
Now at number 2, we have Assassin's Creed Rogue. If you've been playing Assassin's Creed for, say, over a decade, you know the deal. There are the heroic assassins and the villainous Templars. The assassins are good. They're in the right. But in this game, you're on the opposite side. You're a Templar. Shay Patrick Cormac, the protagonist of Assassin's Creed Rogue, belongs to the Templar faction, though he's a defector who was once an assassin. The game details how he battles his former allies, making the case that the Templars have been the true heroes all along. And you were secretly on the right side. You're still a shadowy, suit-clad, cult-like figure operating beyond the law, but here it's supposedly for humanity's benefit, fighting for peace and order against a rogue terrorist group posing as stylish, hoodie-wearing assassins. It all depends on your perspective, I suppose. Then again, it's murky, because the Templars have done some pretty heinous things in all the other games. The whole good guy/bad guy setup is completely turned upside down here, which is why it earns a spot on this list. You're not truly a good guy. The story tries hard to justify your actions, but your character comes off as misguided, even if his code is undeniably cool. It's tough to genuinely paint you as a hero in this one. Finally, at number 1, we have God of War. To add a touch of nuance, in the 2018 game in Ragnarok, Kratos does some morally gray things, but he's depicted as a man seeking redemption, trying to atone for the terrible deeds of his past. God of War 2018 and Ragnarok are phenomenal, but they're not the focus of this list. The real standout is the blade-wielding slaughterer himself, tearing through waves of Greek soldiers and mythical beasts. And yes, those cruel, heartless gods, everything, pre-2018, the entire earlier series, Kratos is straight up bad news, an undeniable villain. He begins as a flawed hero, defending people wherever he goes, but by the middle of the first game, the gods humiliate him, and he starts hacking through every divine entity he can reach, driven by vengeance, raw fury, and a deeply misguided quest for justice, just wreaking havoc. He plunges the world into eternal darkness by killing the god of the sun, floods the earth by slaying Poseidon, and submerges all of Greece in the ocean. The trail of death and devastation he leaves behind is barely an afterthought. And there are so many instances of him going overboard with his atrocities that we won't even dive into them here. Let's be honest, for most of the series, Kratos is a deeply wicked man. Sure, the gods might deserve some payback, but humans and everyone else suffer the consequences of his wrath too, you know? Kratos is out for himself, he's not really a friend to anyone else, not truly. Hold on, I need to pause here. God of War, we could go on forever about Kratos, his morals, and his actions. He's a complex character, no doubt about it. Before we wrap up, I'd like to give a nod to Untitled Goose Game. This one's a bit of a departure from the wild chaos of Maneater. There's no gore, and absolutely no killing involved. Yet there's something deliciously wicked about every move you make in Untitled Goose Game. You're not a gangster or a murderer here, just a goose wandering a quaint neighborhood, doing what geese do best: stirring up trouble for anyone nearby. The antics in this game are mostly just pranks, pretty harmless stuff. Even when you're pulling stunts like trapping a kid in a phone booth, it's tame by gaming standards, not really hurting anyone, but you're not exactly being a saint either. You're spreading chaos wherever you waddle. But honestly, why resist? There's something oddly delightful and slyly satisfying about sowing discord in this little village. The actions themselves aren't truly evil, but the intent? Oh, it's there. You're never really out to help anyone in this game. Compare that to, say, brawling with cops in GTA, where it's crystal clear you're the bad guy. What you're doing here isn't outright bad, but the sheer joy you get from causing a ruckus is shady as all get out.